Hello and welcome to the 42 HQ. We are here to talk about the weekend that was in the GAA. I'm Gavin Casey. I'm joined by Fintan O'Toole, the 42's GAA editor, and we're both delighted to be joined by two-time All-Star and former All-Ireland winner with Tipperary, Shane McGrath, a fine hurler but a fine footballer as well, you were telling us beforehand.
In the North Tip junior football circles, yes.
Yeah, a legend in those parts.
Yeah.
We are looking for you guys to get involved at home, so if you've got any opinions or comments or even questions for Shane, do get involved. We'll pick the best one towards the end, or maybe afterwards actually. We're giving away this fine snapback here, although Shane is planning, I think, to hand it to one of the Shannons. Dan Shannon would do serious brand ambassadorial work, I think, wearing this hat. Fintan,
Shane, before all his pitching curtains, anyway.
That's it. Shane, before we kick off, I often check out athletes' Wikipedia pages, not to actually find out about them, but to see if their friends have made any edits to to the copy there. Just looking at yours here, it says in 2014, McGrath scored 8 points from play in midfield in the All-Ireland semi-final and final. Following the 8th point, McGrath walked off shouting, "My work here is done," much to the anger of those in attendance. Any ideas as to who might be responsible for that one? They also claimed you scored 8 points from play at a wedding of a man named Frank.
Yeah, see, this is the joys of Wikipedia, isn't it? Like that anybody can write into it. I was on a stag there in February. One of the guys I was teaching with, and a few of his friends decided this would be the best thing to do on the second night of the stag. So, look, it's all in good jest. Once. So the 8 points from play thing is a nice touch, right? The fact that it's spelled P-I-N-T-S it probably isn't great, but look, it's all a bit of crack, I suppose, you know.
Big time, yeah. Well, I suppose we have some serious matters to attend to. The draw has been made for the All-Ireland semi-finals. We might get to tip in a second. Are there any kind of winners and losers here? Like, who's going to be happiest with the draw, do you reckon, Fintan? And I suppose, are there any that are maybe fighting against the wind a little bit with how things have turned out?
I think on the basis of the Tadhg Burke incident yesterday, I mean, if he's out, I think the moment that happened, maybe Galway and Cork might have perceived that Waterford might be maybe the easier of the two to play against. Of course, you'd imagine Waterford are going to appeal it at this stage. I mean, he's been so kind of integral to everything done, hasn't he, over the last 4 or 5 years since Derek McGrath took over. Like when the incident happened, you know, I was down in Port yesterday, didn't actually see it, like, but when we kind of look back, I mean, is there an argument that he was kind of going out with the ball and he kind of challenged with Harry Keogh, and that's how the face guard came off? I mean, I was thinking Podge Collins 2014 is the other major one I can remember for someone getting sent off or something like that, but on the basis that if De Burke isn't out, you know, that's going to be a big loss to Waterford. Maybe Cork might be a bit happier, but I think, you know, the fact that Kilkenny are out, ultimately, I think everyone is going to fancy their chances now because, you know, they're going to view it as wide open. They all, I mean, you could say Galway and Cork have question marks over the 4 or 5 week break. Tip and Waterford, you know, have been momentum in the qualifiers, but maybe a couple of issues with both of them in defence. So hard to know exactly who's the happiest out of it, you know.
Yeah, big time. Shane, what do you make of it from a Tipperary perspective? Are you happy enough?
Well, if you believe all the rumours, we'll be lucky to have 15 the next day, and no one's talking to each other, and you know, they might not go on the same bus, like, so. But look, that's the joys of being from Tip, you know. Rumours go with losses, and unfortunately everybody gets carried away when we do lose, but I think Tip are coming in a very, very good place. Played fine against Clare, if they got a goal, you know, it could have opened up a bit more for them, but I think quarter-finals and semi-finals are just for winning. Nobody really remembers how you play in them, and I think that's what Tip are after doing. They're after winning a quarter-final, they're after getting over the line. Some of the top players didn't perform, but at least they're in a semi-final, they have a chance to perform, whereas a lot of the teams gone now, they're big players. Let's take Tony Kelly, for example. You know, he'd never really got a chance to shine for Clare this year, and he's out. Like, what would he give for a chance to play in Croke Park? Whereas our boys are getting that chance, and that's what it's all about. We're in the business end of the year for the 9th time over the last 10 years. So a lot of people talk about Tip's inconsistency and all this, but I think you look back in it, bar 2013, since 2008, Tip have been in All-Ireland semi-finals, so must be doing something right, like. So,
yeah.
And that's, I think the boys like playing at Croke Park. And they know how to win there on the big days, like. And
that's the crux of it now, really, isn't it? Like, it's hardly been a vintage year for Tipperary, obviously, or at least that's the perception of it. But once they walk out in front of 65,000 people in Croke Park, you're at the business end again, and then you might see the best of Tipperary because it's kind of intrinsic in them to perform at that stage.
Yeah, and as you said, like as we said, Galway are the farm team now. Everybody in the country is tipping them. All the lads from the game last night tipped them. So how do you deal with this pressure if you're not used to dealing with it? That's another big thing. Tip have won big games in Croke Park that they shouldn't have won down through the years. Whereas, with all due respect to Galway, they have probably lost games they should have won. And I know the Tip boys love playing at Croke Park. They love that space, especially our, you know, Neymar, Suarez and Messi inside, you know, I mean, John, Bubbles and Shamey. I mean, if you get the ball into them, like, I mean, they do serious damage. I mean, what John and Noel did for space of maybe 5-10 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, but underneath the south stand the other day, it was like the two of them were just in the back garden pinging the ball over and back to each other, and that's the confidence they have. Our forward unit is fine. Our midfielders, you know, I know there's a big game in the boys, and I know that Croke Park will hopefully bring it out. The backs will probably talk about it again. It's probably an area that we can work on, but at least we're getting a chance to work on it now against Galway, and I think it's going to be a serious game. I mean, like 1 point last year, 1 point the year before. 2014 they should have bet us in Thurles. 2010 they should have bet us in Croke Park. I'm sure they're reliving all these things, and they have a guy with Mahal Donoghue who knows our lads very well. A lot of people mightn't know, but like Mahal did a lot of coaching with us for the last 2 years before he got involved with Galway, you know, trying to come in and gain experience. Very unassuming guy, just came in, did his few drills, but was always learning, and like he knows the boys very well. You can see that from the league final, the way his head is out. I mean, he knows, right, you stand beside Paddy Maher, you're not going to win the ball, so pull him everywhere, pull and drag him everywhere, and that's what they did to us. And they probably won't change their game plan too much from the league final. Might have to tweak 1 or 2 things. We have a different team now as well, so we're going to have to change our game plan, and no matter what player says, playing in Croke Park just plays completely differently. You know yourselves there, you've seen all the games, like, you know. So.
It's been interesting, you mentioned the McGraths, like what Michael Ryan has done. I mean, he didn't start John against Westmeath, he didn't start Noel against Dublin. I don't know, was that to maybe kind of give both of them a bit of a G up or whatever, but I mean, definitely he got both of them on the pitch for the Ireland quarter final, and like 10 points in play between the two of them, and like he's probably getting them firing at the right time now, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the stats of brothers scoring down through the years, but 10 points from play must be some kind of record for a set of brothers in a championship game. Someone, I think Shane Stapleton or someone tweeted the other day about, you know, it was the Rolex wrists of Lochmore. Like, I mean, if you go down and watch a Lochmore match, there's 9 or 10 lads are McGraths. So it's just the thing is based on McGraths, like basically like any famous club teams down through the year, it's based on 2 or 3 families. But like the boys aren't phased about being dropped. I mean, like look what Noel's been through in his personal life, and has come through the other side, you know. I mean, and that hit everybody hard, like back in a couple of years ago when we found that out, but he just pushed it aside. He's focused, and John is the exact same, you know. And like what a role model for John to have, looking up to Noel down through the years, and like they're not fazed by the big days. They love the big days, and I think that's where Tip will have the advantage. They love playing in Croke Park. They love playing there on the big days, and the majority of the team have won big on the big days up there, and I think that'll stand them well in the next day, like, you know.
How concerned would you be by the defence and I suppose the full back line against Galway's forwards? We've seen them in Croke Park already, how they make space. They're obviously big, huge units as well as individual men. Like, what do Tip have to do to improve in that regard? Because I suppose against Clare, even though Tip were a superior team, they conceded 3 goals and might have conceded maybe 5 or 6 had things gone differently.
Well, I suppose it's been highlighted big time after yesterday's match. Unless you're an inter-county manager, you don't seem to be allowed to speak about these things. But
yeah, we might head away.
You know,
leave it up.
Like, but look, and I understand where Dave is coming from about the lads making the comments. You know, they haven't managed at the top level. But I suppose you're there to give your opinion as a player as well. And like as a player, I would have seen James Barry not be comfortable at 4, and I thought he was outstanding for us at 3. And again, he's done it on the big days in Croke Park. I'd love to see him back at 3. Thought Donamaher was excellent at cornerback. Question is who goes in the other corner now. Like, you know, Tossie's doing fine, but Croke Park just plays different, like, you know, and Galway are going to exploit that to the last. I mean, Carl Mannion, I'm hearing, will probably be more likely be back. Right. I mean, the speed of this guy, like, you really see it in Croke Park, like they exploit the space. Joe seems to be happy with his job as kind of, you know, the creator of the scores now, and he'll be happy enough to pick 1 or 2 off from play himself. And the Coonies are, you know, in unbelievable form. So we do need to be set up properly at the back, or else we're just going to get pulled and dragged everywhere. And you could see again Galway tipping over 25, 26 points at their ease, like, you know.
Did they need a bit more protection? Like, I think the last 10 or 15 minutes you kind of noticed on Saturday Ronan Maher maybe dropped a little bit, a couple of yards back, and Brendan Maher then dropped a bit back from midfield, because like you finished with a full back line, none of who started in last year's Ireland final. Like, for any other winning team, like, to be dismantling a full back line through, you know, different circumstances. Mickey Cowles had injuries, you know, Carl Barrett's no longer on the panel, but I mean, he finished with Donagh Maher, Tomas Hamill, and Sean O'Brien, who you were talking about, who's kind of come from nowhere, really, hasn't he?
Sean is from Newport, to be a neighbouring club of ours, you know, and they won the intermediate county final last year, went up senior, and Sean probably got a bit of notice in the club games, in the senior club games. I know he's going very well at centre back for his club. He only got brought into the panel maybe, you know, 4 or 5 weeks ago, so I'm sure, you know, it was a bit of a surprise to him as well. I've heard he was flying it in training, going very well, marking the likes of Shamey and Bubbles and the lads, so that's great experience for him. Didn't have a lot to do on Saturday, but at least if he does feature the next day, or if he does start, you know, he has that kind of nervousness of your first game. That's gone now. Croke Park will play different again, as I've said loads of times already, but you know, he'll have a bit of experience. I just feel, you know, play your strongest, like. And I mean, our strongest is James Barry at 3, Dunne at 2 at the moment.
And Hamill in the other corner, or
it's hard to know, because, you know, I mean, again, Tossie plays his best hurling in the half back line, and you're asking a guy to play a completely different position in the full back line as a cornerback, you know, because you're marking probably one of the most trickiest guys in the field who can twist and turn, and it's a very particular position. I'd love to see if Mickey's goes well in training now this week or things like that, you know, because he has the experience and all that on the big day. I'd like to see Mickey getting a go there, maybe, like, you know. Will Cathal Barrett be back? It's hard to know at this stage. It seems very late in the year.
It'd be a big call now.
It'd be a massive call, you know. It'd be a massive call, you know. I mean,
would it draw like well, it would draw an inordinate amount of attention towards, or maybe even heap of pressure upon the team, where it's like all of a sudden that's the entire country's talking about that, like, oh, Barrett's back out of nowhere. Would that affect the team? Like, is it worth making it on that basis?
Like, you know, I know Cathal played a club match over the weekend and got through it fine and did fine in it. He's probably a little bit off the pace of inter-county and all our semi-final is some match to come back into after being away for so long. But I would feel that, okay, you bring him back in, you're probably not going to start him, but at least the guys on the pitch know, right, I need to go well here today, or he's coming on. And that'll either work one way or another for a player. They'll either crack under the pressure, or, you know, majority of players will go, well, I'm going to prove a point here today that I'm here in the panel all year. I'm going to keep him off the team for as long as I can. So I think I'd see it as a positive, but again, it's up to the management to decide, you know, and at this stage of the year, who knows what it's going to be. I think a call would have to be made today or tomorrow, realistically, like. Yeah,
big time. Like, Shane Gavin was asking the question here of you, Shane, will Sean O'Brien start versus Galway? And he says up Newport. You've probably touched upon that a little bit already. Brandon O'Brien, cheers for the comment, Brandon. He says Waterford have a few more years in them yet. Waterford and Galway for the finish. I mean, that's the thing with Kilkenny being gone, it's going to be a cracking final regardless. I think you were saying, Fintan, earlier that there's only one combination out of the 4 that has happened before. That was Cork Galway twice.
Galway, like when I tipped Cork, I mean, you played them in the semi-final in 2014, and that was was it nearly 70,000 at that game. It was such a novel thing that tip Cork were playing in Croke Park. I mean, if you have a tip Cork final or a tip Waterford final, I mean, it's I suppose it's like any sport. Once the champion and the team that's dominated for so long is out of the picture, everyone kind of
that's it. And I remember in 14 that Cork were going so well at the time and we were going okay, but all the talk that week was how good Cork were, and no one really said anything about us. And, you know, we were talking about this all the time in training amongst ourselves, and like we were so driven, like, to win that game, you know, as a group, because we felt we were just getting wrote off, like there was the end of maybe 7 or 8 of us and the management forget about it and all this. So we had a point to prove that day, and we just went out. We didn't really go with tactics or anything like that. We just went out and we hurled, like, and lads just went out and they got a chance to express themselves beforehand, and we were just told, just go out, do your best, take the game to them, and let's see what happens. And, you know, the ball did fall for us, and I remember me and Woody before the game going up on the bus saying everybody had the 2 boys from Cork given all-stars that year, basically before the match was even on. And we said, you know, we've nothing to lose here today. All the pressure's on the 2 boys, Daniel Carney, Aidan Walsh at the time, and like it actually offered us the opportunity, and the thing opened up for us. And it was one of the most enjoyable games I ever played in Croke Park, because it was loads of space, just free flowing hurling game, like, you know, and things fell for us, like.
The big thing that year was Cork didn't cope with the 5-week break. I mean, like, that's probably the question mark over Galway. It's the first time since 2012 that they've been in this position. Cork's in 2014.
Yeah.
You've seen both sides of it. Like, Tip did it last year. They came through Munster all the way from the quarter-final to win it. Like, you know, I mean,
they did it, like, and I suppose, like, I mean, finding out the meaning of life seems to be secret, and finding out how to manage this 5-week break, like, you know, because, okay, you let lads play a couple of club games and then they get injured. I mean, you just go train for 5 weeks and the thing gets stale. You know, you end up doing kind of like, you know, a 150-metre shuttle test in after 2 weeks, because lads feel like, oh, we have to do something here. And then, you know, it does get mundane, it does drought. You just can't be playing matches. I was listening to Tommy Walsh during the week, and he's just the epitome of it. Like, you know, all he wants to do is play matches. And that's why I feel Tip have a good advantage going in that. All they've been doing is playing matches, right? So you take it, right? They played Dublin, they did a bit the following week, and then the famous word tapering. Cian O'Neill's the first guy I ever heard say that word, tapering, in my life. And he goes, you know, you taper for that week. Play Clare. What are they going to do this week? I mean, they're going to recover tonight. They'll do a bit tomorrow night. Thursday night, might play an A versus B Saturday, maybe. The fact that they're the first semi-final now, they mightn't. And then you're just looking forward to a build-up to an Ireland semi-final. Like, it's a dream. It's like playing another 14 county final, right? The lads who take sidelines take a few sidelines. The lads who are doing the frees take a few frees. Back take ball to each other. And you're just, I think at this time of the year, it's not about fitness. about being fresh, because everybody has match fitness now this stage of the year. So, you know, Tip are fresh going into this. Galway will be fresh as well, but I think there's a difference in the freshness, and that Tip are fresh from playing games, Galway are fresh from just doing nothing. I know the club thing shuts down over there. I mean, there's more club hurlers in America than there is in Galway at the moment, from Galway, like, you know, because they just shut it down and that's it until the summer is over, basically. So that's where I feel Tip had a bit of advantage, like.
Yeah, big time. Well, folks, keep your comments coming in if you want to win a 42 snapback. We might talk about that aforementioned Davy Fitz versus RT or the World saga, Fintan. It's going to become one, I presume. We were probably a little bit surprised when he made the comments, because it sounded like he was referring to something that was said on the Sunday game, but that wasn't the case at all. It was tweets, right? Yeah,
so he came into the press conference before Cleve yesterday, and I think the first couple of questions were just about the game, and you know, he had no complaints. He basically talked about Kevin Moran's goal before half time as being the turning point to give Waterford that cushion, and he said it was just so sloppy for them to concede, which it was. I mean, I think they had 2 chances to clear the ball, and then he was asked, so Derek McGrath had come in first, and he'd been asked about Michael Dugan and Henry Shefflin, who, yeah, neither of them were working for it yesterday, but just both tweeted their views on the sweeper system, the fact that, look, a lot of people have been talking about before, and was this going to be the most defensive game in the history of hurling, with Sean Murphy on one end and Ty DeBurke on the other, but then Davy, you know, like, he defended Derek McGrath, and he's been pretty strong on this, even when he was Clare manager, that he said he liked what McGrath was doing, that he'd taken a side who were at a very low ebb and he'd built them up, and I wonder, did he see something similar in Wexford, a project when he took over, that this is what he had to do. But yeah, he was really passionate about it. Like, he thought he defended the style of hurling both sides used, and he said, look, do we want to leave the big two, which I presume he's referring to Tip and Kilkenny, do we want finals with just the 2 of them in it, you know? And I think he's a point in the sense that 15 and 15 doesn't work for every team. If Wexford had gone 15 and 15 from the start of this year, you know, you saw the scores that they were leaking over the last couple of years. I think it was 2014, they conceded something like 425 against Limerick in a quarter-final, so that kind of stuff couldn't continue. Maybe if there is a criticism, I think you were talking before, Shane, like with 10 or 15 minutes to go yesterday, maybe they should have pushed up, because they got a goal in the 75th minute yesterday, but they never looked like scoring a goal until then. I mean, I don't think Stephen O'Keefe had really one shot to save, and like someone like Conor McDonald, who I think is a brilliant hurler, and they really needed him to be involved a bit more, but he just wasn't in the game yesterday. So he has a point, but maybe you have to just adapt during a game in the last 10 or 15 minutes.
O'Keefe is like the Manuel Neuer of hurling, I think.
Passes, yeah.
I mean, they got a sideline there, and he's such confidence in his ability. He ran straight out to the corner to get that ball, and that's what I like about him. Like, you know, I suppose Owen Murphy is similar in a way. He nearly plays as an outfielder for Kilkenny, but Stephen O'Keefe is very good at it, and they've all seemed to adopt this fancy 1-2 from the full back to the goalie, which is brilliant. One of the first persons I ever seen doing that was Cummins. We played him in the club game a few years ago, and he hit it to the full back, and the full back was looking around going, what do I do with this? He was like, give it back to me. You know, he give it back to him, and then, you know, you're getting an extra probably 10-15 yards, like, you know what I mean? Especially with the likes of the way the Sliders are there now, and like the lads' ability to strike the ball just so clean every time. It does bypass the half back line now nearly, like, you know, so I'd say it'll be used again, like, you know, definitely from the Waterford point of view anyway.
What do you make of this, like the tactics? I mean, like, you know, that people wanting, I suppose, traditional, maybe high scoring shootouts. Like Tip Cork this year got a huge amount of praise for the amount of scores that were in the game, but I mean, is there an argument that, look, you know, that just doesn't suit every team, like, you know what I mean? Every team's entitled, like, you're not playing to entertain the public, are you? I mean, like, these players ultimately playing to win and get past the
you're right, Fintan. I mean, at the end of the day, like, Waterford don't care if they win All Ireland, and nobody from Waterford should really care if they win All Ireland playing this system. Like, I suppose you've mentioned as well, you have to go with what you have. And Waterford know 15 and 15 probably not going to be good enough to win an All Ireland, so you have to adapt with what you have. What I was saying yesterday was, I understand their system, like especially Wexford, but they were 6 points down with, we say, 8 minutes to go, and Sean Murphy was still picking up the ball in his own 21-yard line. You know, it would have been nice maybe to just see him push onto a half back line or midfield where he's originally picked, and just go for a game and take a chance. Isn't it the same losing by 3 points as 9 points? I think in a knockout hurling match. Do you know what I mean? It's you're gone. If you're gone, you're gone. So just take the chance. If it works, it works. They got the goal at the end. They probably sugarcoated it. Like, Waterford were a way better team. You mentioned Kevin Moran there. I had fair battles with Kevin Moran, and he had an outstanding game yesterday. And he was my man of the match yesterday. Like, for what he did and the work he got through. Like, but will the sweeper thing, the so-called sweeper thing, or playing the extra guy in defence, will it win in Ireland? I said it last year it wouldn't, and I believe this year it still won't.
Like, the one thing from Waterford yesterday, as good as they were, you look at their scorers, like Pádraig Manny, top scorer, 9 points from frees. Kevin Moran, who's a midfielder really, 1-3 from play. Yeah. I mean, I know Maurice Shannon came off the bench and he was playing O'Halloran and they got 2 points each, but like the semi-final has been the hurdle they haven't got over the last couple of years. So that's the question mark: is it, do they have a forward inside? I mean, Patrick Hearn didn't get game time yesterday, and I think over the last couple of years people would have thought he would have kind of been the one to come through. Shane Bennett wasn't really effective.
No.
Stephen Bennett didn't get a game either. So that's the question. I mean, you mentioned earlier, like Tip have that, don't they? Callan, John McGrath, John O'Dwyer, they have those marksmen inside.
Yeah, and Tip can do both as well. I think, you know, that if they need to drop a guy back, if Ronan does need to go back and protect that D, that what Brendan Maher does for the team. He is a great team player, Brendan. Like he did it last year. Like, and we won on Ireland. I think one of the main reasons was because of his game, that he's happy enough to sacrifice his game in midfield and let Mikey Breen go forward and be the attacker, and he's happy enough to go back and cover Ronan's man and let Ronan protect that D, especially if we have a lead 4 or 5 points. And if you have Ronan back there in front of you, and you know you have James at 3, like, you know, that's a very, very solid. It's very hard to get through that. Like, you know, your wing backs dropping back, Brendan's dropping back, and then Mikey's fit enough to cover all that area there. And like, watch the thing with our half forward lines, Bonners just automatically, they're just all dropping back, and then the unbelievable amount of space that you have to hit the 3 boys inside. And like, if you go back to the goal in the All-Ireland final last year, that Carl Barrett won the ball, he looked up, look at the amount of space that was in front of Bubbles, like, because we were all gone back and it left all that space inside. And if the 3 boys get the best ball inside, I mean, it'll take 3 fair lads to hold them, like, you know. So going back to what you said as well, Fintan, the best person they have to play that game, Tadhg de Burka, like, we don't know what the story is. Are they going to appeal it or not? They'll have to watch it back in video. If he puts his hand on the guy's guard, I think it's non-runner, like, because, you know, just the way this rule is brought in about safety and all this. Dara Fives is probably the next best guy to have, but, you know, it's Tadhg de Burka is the man at that job, like.
Yeah, big time. A few comments here, and it was actually Niall Cronin who was asking what you made of the red card in the Waterford game. We touched upon that alright, and it will be interesting to see if Waterford do decide to appeal it. I can't really see why they wouldn't at this point. Dale O'Donnell says, well, this is incredible, says Gavin has fine beard growth. Mon Tip. Cheers, Dale, for that.
That means come on, Tip and Tip.
Oh, right, very good. Yeah, sorry, lost in translation there. Yeah. B. Ryan, Tip and Cork have been waiting a long time for it. Mon Tip. I mean, Tip haven't been waiting too long, surely. B. Have they? Cork a small bit longer. Jeremy Minahan says Cork vs Galway final going to be a classic with the young Cork team winning out. I like the sound of that, Jeremy. And then Barry Cullinan, is the departure of the Tip strength and conditioning coach to Galway this year a big advantage to Galway? We did touch upon that at the start, but you know, going into that fixture, I suppose any sort of an insight you can have into the opposition is handy at that point of the season.
Yeah, and Lucas is the guy's name. Lucas Kurzenstein. He's a Polish guy, and he was with Tip for a few years previous to that. Unfortunately, for one reason or another, he didn't carry on, and Micheál Donoghue found out that, you know, maybe things weren't all good, and swooped in, and,
he was available,
you know, like a shrewd guy, and took Lucas. And I know the Galway lads have great time for Lucas. The Galway lads are always physical anyway, and maybe Lucas is just after installing another little bit. You know, how much fitter can you get guys in the space of maybe 7 or 8 months? You know, it probably takes a few years to get that. They had probably the base already, and Lucas probably came in and just has pushed them on another few percent, which will make all the difference. But, you know, what a lad can squat in the gym or bench press probably won't define who's going to win an Ireland final. Like, you know, hurling's gone so fast. It's, you know, it's about the speed of hurling, and not too much to that, but it will be a factor, you know.
Yeah, big time. I've had enough Tip chat, lads, to be honest. I want to talk about Páirc Uí Chaoimh, if that's all right. You were both down there at the weekend, and I mean, a lot of the talk coming into the weekend was there was going to be massive problems with public transport and traffic, and there were some rumours that people were kept out a little bit, but what did you both make of it? Like, did it go reasonably, swimmingly?
I think it did. I mean,
yeah.
Personally, I think it's a bit of an Irish thing with sporting events. Once people are taken out of their comfort zone, like we saw it with Mayo Kerry, the football in 2014, and I think everyone who then was down there that day, you know, said it was a really, really special atmosphere, you know. Like, I don't think they're going to bring Waterford and Wexford if they meet every year in hurling championship. They're not going to bring them to Páirc Uí Chaoimh, but I think it was just because of the reopening. You know, it was just a one-off, really. Probably have a proper kind of a fixture for the proper weekend and a proper sense of occasion for it. And like, one thing I did justify, there had been some talk of they should have played it in Nolan Park, but I mean, the capacity in Nolan Park's 18,000, they had 31 yesterday, so did justify in that sense. You know, I think all the concerns maybe beforehand about kind of traffic and different things, maybe there was a few teething problems. I think the club match last Wednesday, the first week fixture, but I think everything went well and pretty smoothly, and most people seem pretty happy with their experience. Yeah,
what do you make of, I don't know if you got a chance to see the new dressing rooms, but I know the old ones would have been much derided by players when they came down to Cork.
Yeah, I suppose they're legendary in their own way now. Like, anybody that played in the old Páirc Uí Chaoimh, the dressing rooms are probably similar to most club dressing rooms, I would say, but there was a great old buzz inside them, great atmosphere in them, you know, and like got to play there. Like the best atmosphere I ever played down there was 2008, and they kind of oversold the terrace or something that day, and the fans had to sit out by the sideline. It was a big thing for us because, you know, we hadn't beaten Cork in like 80 years down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and it was a big test for us as a group, and it was unbelievable atmosphere, like, you know. And in 11 and 12 then we won 2 months finals down there, and like the crack in the dressing room it's unreal because it's so small and so tight, and there's physio beds being thrown out of the way so lads can get in on the picture, like. And you know, you have 2 small dressing rooms, and then everybody is trying to get into a huddle in the one dressing room, so you're kicking gear bags out of the way and kicking lads out of the way and telling lads that haven't been there all year to get out of the dressing room so you can have a bit of room, like, you know. It's unbelievable. But Owen, there's a great story in the programme there. Owen says when you're walking out of the tunnel, you had to stop the fans, like, you know, you stop the fans either side, and we were walking out, and I can't remember which game it was, but Owen was captain, and as he was going out, someone kind of caught him by the throat and says, "You better win today," you know. And like, you know, this is just a fan, like, and Owen is like going, "What is this? What's going on here?" You know, I mean, that's untold, like, it's unheard of now. That's, you're talking about 1960s, 1970s stuff there, like, you know. But that's the atmosphere was unbelievable. I suppose it's unfair to say that the atmosphere isn't the same in the new Páirc Uí Chaoimh, because the 2 matches you had at the weekend were okay.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They weren't brilliant.
There's only about 5 minutes maybe as Clare were making their comeback that the place livened up a little
exactly,
bit.
Right. And if you get a Munster final there next year, maybe, depending on who's in it, like, and it's a close game, you'll get a serious atmosphere, like, where both terraces are full, and it still does have that Coliseum effect, like, which I think, well, I'm delighted that they kept. But I mean, as a stadium, as a modern stadium, you can't fault it. And I mean, people get carried away, as we said in the GAA world, because you have to go down to Cork and all this. Like, people are nearly leaving on Wednesday to try and be down in time for a match on Saturday, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
I mean, we were down there in plenty of time. Just give yourself enough time, like, you know. Maybe just Irishness have been late for everything, like. But
that's the
other thing is the parking. Like, Irish people want to park right next to the
stadium.
Oh,
she really want to park in the 65 and walk in along to it.
This concept of kind of using parking right in public transport seems alien to Irish people.
And like with the new facilities, is great. Like, you can go in, you can, you know, the bar, the premium level is top class. You can go in and have a few drinks and just be there, like, you know. And it's better to be there than, you know, tearing up from the venue there with 5 minutes to go home to get in.
The thing with Páirc Uí Chaoimh, growing up in Cork, the plan is always to park outside Páirc Uí Ring and then walk down, you know, like that. So I don't know if maybe we haven't imparted that wisdom north of Cork, like, but maybe we could probably send out a few emails or something.
You'll have to get a boat to start taking people across like you used to before.
A ferry up the lake, that's it. Come here, we'll come back to a couple of comments in a second, but firstly, we do have a clip actually of Bob Ryan, the stadium manager at the new park, and it was interesting to hear what he had made of the whole thing, and a couple of nice shots as well of the stadium if you missed it at the weekend.
Massive for the Cork County Board, for the GAA community in Cork City and County, for all the people involved in it. You know, they have made huge decisions in developing a project of this size. It is a large stadium. You can see the three-tier stand, the south stand is a large building, you know, with all the necessary dressing rooms and players' facilities. 3 layers of tiers of seating, and we have in the middle within we have the premium level, which hosts all the function areas, bars, food and so on. I don't think anywhere has the sightlines that we have here in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. No matter where you sit or stand in the terraces, you will have a super view of the match. As you said, we are part of the Rugby World Cup bid. If Ireland are successful, which we hope they will be, we'll be part of that and be very glad to be part of it. That's the extent of it at the moment. We've been discussing American football as a possibility. You know, whatever is out there, we'll look at. But as you well know, we're bound by rules of the association, and we'll abide by those rules. Every day brought new challenges, but we worked together. There was a group of 5 of us. I was chairman, Frank Murphy. Pierce Murphy, Christy Cooney, the former president and former chairman of the board, and the current chairman, Jorlane. We worked together. We got over the challenges. We had hot meetings, but we got there. I think this building, this stadium, will serve the people of this region for 50 years.
Great stuff from Bob there down at the new park. A couple more comments to get to before we wrap on football. John D. O'Callaghan, what about the Tip full back line? Surely Cathal Barrett needed. Owen Fitzgerald says Tip need to bring back Cathal Barrett or we'll be on the losing side. James Barry has to go back into the full Tip-a-boo. All the Tip fans, a lot of Mons, a lot of Tip-a-boos, they're really getting behind the team. As soon as you make a semi-final, everything is smooth.
Oh yeah, great fans.
What do you make of these calls for Cathal Barrett's reintroduction?
Look, I suppose everybody's seen how good Cathal is, and on his day he's probably the best cornerback in the country. He's not involved for one reason or another. it totally is up to the management and what their call is going to be. I mean, as a Tip hurling person, you'd love to see him back, but I suppose the call has to be made today or tomorrow, realistically, to give everybody a fair chance, to get the players a chance to readapt to it again. I'm sure there'll be a couple of lads ticked off if he's brought back in, but look, I always say if the team win, everybody wins. And that's what it's all about. Like if Tip win, the whole of Tip win, and if they win without Cahill, then it's again you'd say, look, great call by Mick. But if they lose without Cahill, you'd say maybe he should have been back. So it's very hard to call. Hindsight's a great thing, like, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. One comment to wrap on here. Fergal Carney, he says the Gaelic grounds in Limerick is now in big trouble. Amenities compared to Semple in the Park don't match up. If it wasn't for the home and away agreement, no one would play there. Well, Mayo seem to. Well, I wouldn't say Mayo enjoy it, but they've thrown up some serious games. We might move on to the football actually on that topic. A couple of things from the Mayo Cork game. I mean, for one thing, Mayo's kind of unwillingness to relent to this narrative that they should be finished at this point. Like, it's kind of difficult now, I think, not to enjoy Mayo, even as a Cork man. And I was galled by what happened at the end of the game. But how do you not really appreciate Mayo for what they've done for all of us, in a sense, and throwing up this entertainment year on year?
Yeah, it's been an incredible month. I mean, like, Derry took them to extra time, probably could have lost that. Then the trip to Ennis, had a really poor start in that game, and then Saturday night a game that, look, I think it was a 14-7 maybe after about 50 minutes gone, and the fans, let's face it, they were the majority of the fans there in the Gaelic grounds. There wasn't too many Cork fans there. Looked like they could sit back and just relax, but they really tested this kind of supporters' faith before kind of eventually emerging. So I don't think you can fault their resilience, that they've kept coming back year after year. There's probably some question marks over kind of the defence. I suppose the fact that Lee Keegan got black carded and Cullen Boyle was taken off, definitely Cork seemed to kind of exploit the big gaps that were there. It's a bit similar to 2014. I mean, that year Cork hammered in the Munster final, coming into the game on the back really low ebb, a lot of criticism towards them, and they produced their best performance of the season, ran Mayo to a point in Croke Park. So Mayo historically just hasn't really beaten Cork well, and I think Stephen Rochford was very wary last week. He was talking about this, so I think he'll just be glad to get out over it. Don't have much time to recover now, playing Roscommon next week, Connacht champions, the whole Kevin McStay factor. So, but the fact that they've come through the back door, and I mean, similar you've seen this, Shane, with the Tip hurlers, it is impressive that aside, Mayo, I suppose the expectations are probably similar to they are for Tip hurlers. They lose the Connacht semi-final, it seems like it's the end of the world, that's them finished now, but I mean, they're now back on the last day. Yeah,
you touched on it there. You have to admire they have some following though. Even last year I was at the All-Ireland semi-final in the football with Tip and Mayo, and the Mayo support there that day was unbelievable, and you think as Tip people we would have got behind the footballers for getting so far for the first time ever, in a long time, but it was 3 or 4 to 1, and they seem to have that no matter where they go in the country. So they are they are really behind this team. They do really support them. I suppose talking to anybody for years based on the football team, and it's just so demoralising when they don't actually get there, but they're the ultimate nearly team. They've done so well, and I'm sure their confidence has to be up. I mean, fair enough, they didn't go well in Connacht, but their confidence has to be up going into the next game now. Roscommon, are Mayo favourites or Roscommon favourites? Who knows? Mayo are probably in a better place because, like the hurling, they're coming off the back of just playing games, and training hasn't been too hard during the week. So I'd say, you'd have to fancy Mayo at the weekend. I don't know a huge amount about football, but
I know you were flying football.
Yeah, in the North Tip Junior Football Circus. But look, everyone in the country would love to see them win it, wouldn't they? But whether they do it or not, I suppose they have to do it soon, because the aim of the team, the focus of the team is moving on past the 30 mark now, as well.
Is that the big benefit of coming through the back door then, having done it yourself, and Tip have done it successfully in the past, the fact that training during the week isn't going to be as intense because the games are coming thick and fast, and as you were saying earlier, it's not even about keeping fit, it's about remaining fresh at this point.
Definitely. The big advantage of the back door, everyone wants to win their province, and they're very, very valuable medals to have, but the big advantage of the back door is just matches, nice handy training, nice handy training, and that's all players want. They know they're going training Tuesday night, they'll be tipping away. Maybe the guys on the periphery, or the 10 lads who didn't see much, they might do a bit on their own, or a bit extra on their own, a bit of running and all that. But for the bulk of the team, or 20 guys who are involved, I think it's a perfect, and the summer just flies by then as well, because you're just focusing on the next game all the time. Don't have too much time to think about the last game, because you're already getting ready for the next game. And I think that's a big advantage to whoever comes through the football or the hurling side of it.
Yeah, big time. I mean, I suppose the other, well, maybe not the main talking point, but one of the talking points from Galway Donegal was the fact that throwing was delayed. Fintan, as we saw, there was this kind of surreal moment at the end of extra time in the Cork Mayo game where there was a split screen and you saw the referee with the ball in his hand up at Markovich Park, the players ready to go, and there's just this really long pause before the ball is thrown in, and the game had already been delayed at this point. Now we're looking at like maybe 4.5 minutes left in the Cork game, and you kind of think, can they not hold on another 4 minutes? But then from the player's perspective, Shane, I suppose, to be told like, oh yeah, the game's going to be delayed because of TV scheduling must be a lot more frustrating than even if it's like traffic outside the ground or something.
Yeah,
like how do you deal with that?
If it's genuinely people who are, there's such culmination of people coming in at the same time that they can't factor it in, like, or they didn't foresee it, you'd understand that, like, I mean, well, lucky enough, it never actually happened to us. The only time it might happen would be, if the game before he went to extra time or something like that, but majority of the time that would be maybe the game would be on in the same place, like. So I mean, as a player, if you can't get out and play because of a match that's on 150 miles down the road, you're there going, like, what's this about? Like, regardless of television or media or anything like that, like, it's very hard to get it in.
I think they have to just play it, don't they? I mean, it's a bit easier to understand if, your senior in the minor semi-final goes to extra time or something like that.
Exactly, yeah.
But I mean, like, if you're the Galway Donegal players, you're like, what has this got to do with us? The fact that, Mayo couldn't hold on in the Gaelic grounds, and then the fact that they did start it during extra time, but look, obviously, as it turned out, it didn't really affect Galway anyway. Like, that was a really, really impressive result, and I think probably one of the best things of the weekend, like we were talking about, see Michael Meehan back playing.
He got a massive run. He came
4 years
on,
since he last played. He came out of retirement in March.
Himself and Sean Armstrong seem to be reliving those days from a few years ago now again, which is like, from Michael Meehan, what he's been through injury-wise. I mean, like, mentally to come through all that, and he seems to be in the gym a good bit as well. He's gone fairly strong, like, so it was great for everyone to see him back, like, I think.
It'll be interesting to see what role he has next Sunday. Like, you think the 08 Kerry game, I think that was, everyone remembers that, like the shootout in the rain, like, he was absolutely incredible that day. He's just been cursed with injuries, like, so it's mad, I suppose, how it turns out, like, talking about the back door. I mean, like, everyone writing off Galway after the Connacht final and then win by 15 points, and they're coming in with a good bit of momentum next Sunday.
That's it, and you mentioned there Meehan, like, and what he might do next, or when they're out again, it's like, he's such a wildcard option now, even though everybody knows kind of what to expect from Michael Meehan. Like, you don't really know, like,
because he's been out again for so long.
That's the thing, and like, he could have been working on anything over the last few years or even the last few months. So definitely interesting to see how that one turns out, lads. But that is all we've got time for here on The42 GAA live on Facebook. Shane, thanks a million for joining us.
Delighted to be here.
We'll hopefully get you back, maybe around the semi-final, or even if Tipper are involved in the football next year again,
Yeah, who knows, might go back playing a bit of football.
That's it. Listen, thanks a million for your comments as well, by the way, at home. We're not going to pick the winner for the hat quite yet, because we want to give the people the opportunity to keep opinions and things like that flying in even after the video has ended. So if there's anything you'd like to add to the discussion or anything you want to get across, leave a comment. We'll pick a winner later this evening. We'll be back around this time next Monday, but until then, thanks a million and take it easy.